and welcome to the Monday, the day after edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand, and I want to start the show off right off the very beginning today, congratulating Team USA on their gold medals in both. there's Mancini in the background. Anyway, those gold medals in both women's and in men's hockey. You couldn't have asked, I think, in my opinion, for a more exciting gold medal final in the hockey events on both sides of that. But boy, for the men, sometimes you just run into a hot goalie, and I don't think, and this is just my opinion, that Canada could have played much better. I don't know if having Sidney Crosby on the bench or in the locker room would have made a difference. That team dominated the last two periods of that hockey game, and the bounces, they call it puck luck, just wasn't there. And Connor Hellebuck made some dandy saves, and congratulations to Team USA. There, I said it, and I got it out there without yelling at them. Anyway, as I understand it, Snowmageddon is on the way. I guess there's more snow coming. HRCE is dismissing early. The city has imposed the overnight parking ban, so if you park on the street, you're going to have to find alternative measures for the overnight hours tonight to allow for snow clearing. HRCE, again, is dismissing early, so if you have kids that are at school, they're probably going to be showing up a couple of hours earlier than normal. I was on the road this morning coming in around 7:30, and I'll tell you what, a lot of people are taking the snow day today because the roads were completely empty. It was almost like a weekend. It was that light. And I was kidding with Councillor Mancini, who's going to join us here in a second, about congestion. We don't have a congestion problem as long as we have a snow day, right? Anyway, Alistair Alders, our meteorologist, will be here over the noon hour today. He's going to have the latest forecast. That drops usually around 11 o'clock-ish, so we'll have the very latest information on what you can expect. As I understand it, this thing's supposed to begin in earnest around lunchtime today and into the afternoon drive, so Alistair will give us the very latest on the way that it is. Provincial budget will be dropping today as well. It's certainly a busy news agenda out there, and we know that there's already been cuts to the tourism department that have leaked out. There's been some major restructuring. Some would suggest gutting of the DNR's budget and the DNR department, so we'll keep our eye on what's happening there. Tomorrow we'll have full reaction here on the program as we move forward. And of course, the city budget continues as they go through the process. The mayor on Friday said that he put a motion before the budget committee asking for a review of salaries, and that one was defeated. He did say in that statement that he put out after that happened yesterday that we're about 11.2% now. We started, I think, was 10.2%. Feels like we're going in the wrong direction. But maybe our next pair of guests here can answer some of those questions. I'm very pleased to welcome into the studio today, which feels like it's been forever since he was here. That is District 6 Councillor, Dartmouth East, Burnside, Tony Mancini. How are you?
Well, like many other Canadians, Dan, I'm a little sad today. In your opening, you talked about the hockey, and that was tough. It's tough to lose. It's tougher to lose to the Americans, but boy, it was a lot of fun to watch, though.
It was exciting hockey. A lot of people were calling it some of the best hockey they've ever seen. So
indeed,
we certainly got entertained.
And to have Sidney on the bench, our Cole Harbour boys represented well. So it was a lot of fun, but it was very sad to see.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Brad grew up playing for Hammonds Plains, which is the arch rival of Cole Harbour, as I understand it. So we have to be careful how we group people together. But I thought they all played well and represented the country well. And sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. That's the way it is. Also on the hot seat today from District 9 on the telephone, that's Halifax West and Armdale, and it's Sean Clary. Sean, how are you?
I'm pretty great this morning. Like you said, disappointed we didn't win, but I tell you, I am one of those people that thought the women's game and the men's game was, in fact, the two best hockey games I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's interesting that, there's always a lot of debate about hockey and about the way that the game's played, and people talking about, the penalties and instigator rules and the fighting and everything else, but when people come together to watch a game and they say it's the best one that they have ever seen, it's always about offense, right? It's always about those rushes and those breakaways and those big saves.
Oh, well, and especially on the men's side, second period and the third period, incredible number of shots on goals. everything was going to the net.
Tony, Team Canada next Olympics, Sydney going to be there? You got the inside. You're from that part of the world,
yeah,
right?
So who knows what Sydney? I mean, look at the year he's having now, right? But you ought to also understand why the NHL is somewhat reluctant to allow those players to go into these tournaments. I mean, here you have Sydney now, injured because of the tournament. Does that mean how bad is that injury? We don't know. Those are millions of dollars of assets that they allow to go to these tournaments. So you understand the reluctance. But who knows if anybody can do it? It'll be Sydney. But there's a lot of young talent, and boy, it's exciting hockey. And I think the talent that's coming out now is just beyond what we've ever seen before. So
right, with that all-star team that Canada iced, Macklin Celebrini leading the tournament.
19 years old.
19 years old, so
Amazing.
that is certainly the future. Anyway, let's get down to city business here. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. This is Counselors on the Hot Seat. If you have a question for our counselors, here is an opportunity to do so. Again, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The mayor put out a statement on Friday, folks, that was rather lengthy, basically saying that he had put forward a motion asking for reductions to municipal wages and compensation of up to 7%. It was defeated at Budget Committee. He said he's going to bring it back to council next year when they have more time to think about it. He did say in the statement that as it stands right now, current levels of his quote, current levels of spending and based on council discussions to date, the average residential tax bill would need to increase by up to 11.2% this year, 8.9% in 27, 12% in 28, and 12% in 29. I'll start with you, Councillor Mancini, because you're sitting across from me. Your thoughts on the mayor's ask and those numbers.
So first of all, I don't know why Cleary's not here. He lives around the corner. I had to come a lot further. He's probably still in his jammies.
We're going to get into the penalty box already. We just got started.
Yeah,
anyway,
so the mayor, look, I don't have a problem with the mayor's motion and the sense of what he's trying to accomplish. Many of your callers, people that call in, have asked about we should be cutting back on staff. The challenge I have with the mayor's motion is, and I mean this respectfully, he didn't do his homework. I mean, he didn't confer with staff, especially our senior staff. No conversation with the CIO, no conversation with the CFO, no conversation with the chair of the Budget Committee. It came in last minute. It's something worthwhile to take a look at, absolutely. In fact, we do have a third-party service review audit that's already been approved, and that actually looks at compensation too. So it's already in the works. To bring it in last minute, and not even to communicate with us, his colleagues, is problematic. Plus, what he's asking to do is going to take a tremendous amount of work. We need to address this stuff this week. So there's no way you can turn that around that quickly with the details that we need. And again, respectfully, garbage in is garbage out if you're going to turn it around in a few days' time. And even staff said that. So, and you talked about the 11.2% where we are right now. So I've been at this for 10 years. If I may take a few seconds, Dan.
Sure.
Here's the process. And I know this has been shared before to your listeners, but let me walk you through the process. At the start of the budget season, the staff come to council and say, okay, to maintain the exact same services last year and to include the increase in cost, like everybody else's costs, fuel, insurance, much of our staff are unionized, and so collective agreements have been put in place. So taking same services last year and all the costs, starting point I think was around 10.9%. We need to increase taxes by 10.9% just to maintain what we did last year plus the increase. And then what happens is that each business unit or each department comes to council or our budget committee, and they present their budget. Now, they've been asked this year to show us what you can cut back. And they've also been asked to show us any possible additional cuts that we could consider and for that process. So each department comes by and does that. Then a councillor can choose to say, okay, I want to add some additional cuts that you've identified to the list. Or a councillor may also say, I want to add something to the budget. For example, Councillor Morse asked to add the service improvements for transit to be moved to this year versus waiting for next year that was just presented. So I believe that was $12 million for some new buses and another $1 million for operations. So we are compiling this list. We have things that are going to be cut, a list of those items, potentially things are going to be added to the budget. So right now, I think it's at 11.2%. So for the past 10 years, we've been doing something similar to that. And then when it's all said and done, the number has been lower than the starting point. So those numbers that you stated, those are very concerning numbers. But I'm quite confident we will land on a lesser number than the number we're seeing right now. Now, some folks want that flat rate, no increase like we did last year. Now, the assessment went up last year, but nothing we did caused the tax to go up last year. Very unrealistic of where we are with the cost of things and trying to maintain some level of service. So I just wanted to walk everybody through that process. 11.2%, I'm very confident it's not going to be there. What will it be? I'm not quite sure. Councillor clearly brought forward a motion a couple of weeks ago, and he can speak better to his motion. I tried to, and I messed it up, and he got mad at me, so I'll let him speak to his motion. He can articulate it. But we do have to do some cuts. And so the mayor's motion, the principle of the motion I don't have a problem with is how he executed the motion, and that's why, in my opinion, it failed.
Councillor Cleary, we'll ask you about the mayor's motion first, and then your ask of city staff to come back with numbers showing a zero increase in the tax rate.
Yeah, well, where do I start? So, I'm hoping that the mayor will show some fiscal leadership on this. I mean, just let's back up for a second. We this week talked about the mayor's office budget, which is proposed to be up 29% since he became mayor. So he's spending 29% more in his own office, but he's looking for 7% reductions in compensation from all of our staff. And so, I think Tony summed it up quite well. So we just put out a core service review for tender a number of weeks ago. So this is going to look at, what is absolutely core for the municipality to be doing? What are the levels of service we need for those things? Once we get that back, which will be in time, hopefully for next year's budget, we can have a broader look at this. The mayor's motion is essentially looking to review thousands of jobs with possibly hundreds of job reductions with literally 2 days work for staff to come up with suggestions. It would be arbitrary at best. And so there's this duplication it has with the core service review and the fact that he was only giving the city 2 days to actually do the math on what that would look like. So there would be no real basis to say, let's lop off these jobs or that job. And this is ironic considering just spent this past year over $90,000 in several months worth of work to review 6 jobs in his own office. So if he thinks it costs that much money and that much time just to review 6 jobs, imagine how much time it would take to review thousands of jobs. And so this is, I think, why, the vast majority of council voted down his motion is because it's duplicative with the core service review that's about to get underway and come back to us for next year's budget. And it would give staff zero time to actually do a real, authentic, deep dive into the services and what we're going to be looking at in terms of the number of people that are required to do those jobs.
Councillor Cleary, your motion to see what it looks like to go to a flat rate this year, the thought process behind that.
Okay, so our staff, and we gave them direction in the latter part of the summer this past year, in terms of go look at a bunch of things to bring back to us for, increasing some fees, reducing some services. And the parameters we put on that were pretty tight. And so when the budget documents came back to us, they grouped potential reductions into 3 categories and they color-coded them. There were green ones, there were yellow ones, and there were red ones. And the red ones came with a dire warning that said, we don't recommend you cut these things. So it'd be difficult for a lot of those to end up on the agenda to be reviewed for cuts when staff don't even recommend cutting them. And, and I've been around government federally, provincially, and now municipally for a couple of decades. And oftentimes at budget, when you're looking at, what are the new things that we could be doing? What are the things that we could be cutting? I like to, say that staff bring out the puppy dogs and the baby seals. The puppy dogs are those really cute things that, they want to do. And they're very attractive and everyone oohs and ahs at them. And they're like, of course we want to add that to the budget. And we end up doing a lot of those. And the baby seals are the things that, if you try to club this cute little animal, blood's going to go everywhere, the public's going to hate it, and you're going to end up walking it back at some point in time. So a lot of those red reductions are those baby seals. And so what my motion does is it takes those parameters off staff. They are the experts in running their departments, whether it's Parks and Rec, whether it's police, whether it's fire, whether it's libraries. They're the ones who actually know. There's not a single counselor around that table who can deep dive in any single department and say, maybe we should shift resources from here over to here with any meaningful kind of insight. And so my motion, so just to also remember, a flat tax means tax bills are still going up by over 4%.
Right, because of assessments, right?
Right. So it's not the 11% increase in tax bills. It's more of a 4 to 5% increase, and that's a flat rate. And so I think that's pretty reasonable to most people. We'll probably end up adding a bit, taking away a bit. So, if we can get in that 4, 5, 6% range, I think most residents would be pretty satisfied with that. And so my motion is that let's try to keep it to that. But I want staff to go back and kind of like I use this analogy at council, like a menu when you go into a restaurant. There's the a la carte menu, and it's got everything listed there. And in this case, ours is color coded, so it's got a bunch of meals on there that says, "Don't pick this one, or you'll have a heart attack right in the middle of the restaurant." Or you could have what's the chef's table. You walk in, and the chef's prepared an entire meal from appetizer all the way to dessert, and you just go ahead, you plonk the money down, and they bring you out everything. And so that's what I'm looking for from staff. You're the expert. You're the chef in the kitchen. Bring us a menu of options that says this is what things could look like if we wanted to achieve that. And it is just one of the options. We don't have to take it. I don't know if we will or won't. I won't know until we see it. But it allows them to be more creative, offer different options than what they put, especially on those yellow and those red items. Their best advice and come back with that. So that's what I'm, and I gave them a couple weeks to work on that kind of stuff. And it could be a combination of the things that are already there in the greens, yellows, and reds, but it could be other things that aren't even in that report to begin with.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're going to take our first break. Counselors on the Hot Seat continues on the other side. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to the telephone lines, and we say hello this morning to Chris. Chris, how are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm fine, thank you.
Your question, please.
Councillors, can you tell me so far what you have cut from the budget or what you're going to cut?
Start with you, Councillor Mancini, since you're sitting in here.
Yeah, lucky me, eh? Let's see, Chris, there's a whole list of items here. I'm trying to look online here. We've deferred projects. We've moving funding ahead. There's a whole list, Chris. I mean...
What kind of stuff are we talking about?
I'm trying to bring it up here, Chris. There's a whole ballot list. Sean, do you have your list so you can read it? I'm looking at it.
Yeah. I'll just actually say we haven't cut anything or added anything, so we haven't approved the budget. All we've done has been discussing potential cuts and potential increases. Okay,
well, that's fine. What are you potentially going to cut then? What departments or programs or services?
Well, here I got the list here. Reduce Discover Halifax contribution, reduce Lake District recreation, reduce security coverage outside, deferring projects, reduce corporate accommodations, reduce district capital. I mean, the list goes on and on, Chris. You can see it online. There's a number of items. Again, this is wherever you were listening earlier, how we described the process, and so there's a number of items on that list right now.
So really, though, is this a process that's actually going to come to fruition for a financial result that the taxpayer is going to be willing to accept, or is it just a bunch of smoke and mirrors that you guys are throwing out there to make people think you're actually doing something and you end up doing nothing for us? What are we getting for the $108,000 change we're paying you guys now? What are we getting for that?
So it's our fault. So you want us to do for free, then, Chris? I
didn't
say
that.
Come on, Chris.
I didn't say that.
Chris, come on. I've asked you before on the show a few years ago. I said, why don't you run? You said you're too old. Duran. So, but you're not too old to sit in your armchair and give us crap all the time.
Come on.
Oh, come on, Chris. Yeah, let's talk about you, Chris. Let's talk about your world.
Don't.
Let's talk about the world of Chris. Let's see if everyone just listened to what Chris would do. It would be a better world that we live in, Chris. Wouldn't it be a better world? Just listen to you, Chris. Come on, man.
Oh, don't be smart ass. Come on.
Don't. You're the smart ass. You're the guy that comes to that all the time, Chris. Come on, Chris.
Come on.
South End, Chris. Come on, Chris. Come on, Chris.
All right, everybody.
Come on,
everybody,
Chris.
let's go to your corner. I'm going to go
Chris.
get my referee shirt on here and my whistle here in a minute, all right?
Give him 10 minutes for
Councillor Mancini, I think that Chris asked is a question that many people are asking.
Yep.
We know the process is long. We know that it takes forever.
Yep.
We know that we're facing big numbers, and people want to know what services they can expect to lose this budget.
Right, and it's a valid question, and I get a little annoyed with Chris because of the way you ask questions, and I apologize for that, Chris. The challenge is, what do we cut? And there's a lot to be cut. And the mayor's motion and Sean's motion, that really makes us think, okay, what kind of city do we want? It's not smoke and mirrors. No one's trying to fool anybody, and this is the process we're following. How do we cut it? I've had many people reach out to me, like you, Chris, and think we need to cut more. People want to cut staff. I have a lot of folks saying, wait a minute, if you're going to cut staff, you're cutting services. Are you going to cut what service are you going to cut? Are you going to have less transit? Are we going to have less people cutting the grass? So there's that. What's that balance, right? At the end of the process, as in past years, we start at a high number. Hopefully, we get it down to that lower number. I think you look at Sean Cleary's motion, coming down to that flat rate. I think it's really unrealistic that we'll get there. But how close can we get to that number? So that's where we are. That's really where we are with that balance. Yeah. No one's trying to do smoke and mirrors. That's not fair.
Let's ask Councillor Cleary to respond first here, Chris, before we go back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cleary?
So, and I've said this before, especially with Chris, but not everyone I talk to agrees with people like him. So, and in fact, we had at council several people come. One of the best examples was a guy named Steve McKay, who said we need more services, not fewer. And then he said, "Tax me, Daddy," which was a moment of quite a high amount of levity at council. And I think Councillor Daigle-Gammon referred to it again the next day. Well, not everyone wants to see their taxes cut. In fact, I hear from people regularly who say, tax me more if you can provide value. It's an equation. It's a ratio. It's about what you put in to what you get out. So, give you an example. If you don't like paying $1,400 for a new iPhone, well, then go buy a cheaper phone. And so this is the thing. There are some people that call us and say, look, I don't want you to cut transit. And there are people who call me and say, I want you to cut transit. So I can't be everything to everybody. What I can do is we can have adult discussions at council about the type of city, as Tony mentioned, the type of city we want to live in. What are the things that we provide? What are the services that residents can count on? What are the things that we shouldn't be doing, or, at least a consensus of people say we shouldn't be doing? And then we go from there. So there isn't any model that you could point to and say, that is the best city. That is the one we want to emulate. Toronto is different from Edmonton. Edmonton is different from Vancouver. Vancouver is different from Halifax. And so this is a values-based financial discussion that we have around what we do, how we offer it, and how much it costs us.
Chris, very quickly, we're almost up against the break. Go ahead.
Well, gentlemen, you mentioned, Sean, the kind of city we want to live in. I think as taxpayers, the kind of city we want to live in is the kind of city we can afford to live in.
Chris, as your opinion as an individual taxpayer, you just went over and glossed over what I just said. I hear from a diversity of people in the correspondence that I have with residents in my own district, and I'm sure this is true in your district too, but not everyone agrees with you. Maybe some people who call into this show agree with you, but I
think the
hear
majority would agree with me
every day. No, I hear from people every day, and certainly not a majority of people that I hear from in my own district agree with you.
Listen, Tony, Crestview Strategies just did a survey recently. 75% of HRM recipients of that survey were willing to give up services and to save taxes. I think the majority of the people in HRM who pay taxes agree with me.
Crestview, the partner that's involved there, Dale Palmer, with Joanne McRae, ran Andy's campaign, and Crestview employs almost entirely former Conservative Party staffers.
So what you're saying, it was a fake report they put out?
Yes.
So what you're saying is a fake report. It was fudged. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes, I am.
And when you come on the radio, Sean, and you say thousands of people call you and they want bike lanes, that's not fudged? Of course it is.
Not at all. No, because it's real people. So
their survey also showed 1% of the people ride bikes.
No, their survey didn't show that. So
Yes, it did. It absolutely did.
Was an online. No, Crestview's survey is an online survey of about 400 people. Driven, those responses were driven by social media advertising, which they've spent about $30,000 to get so far. So they can target those by values on places like Facebook to people like yourself who will respond to that survey. It's not a scientific survey in any way.
Councillor Cleary, as much as I'd like the discussion to go on, we're up against the break. The show, the Councillors on the Hot Seat, will continue on the other side. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. We're back after the news. All right, we're off to a rousing start here on Councillors on the Hot Seat today. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That is the telephone line. We've got several callers on the line, Councillor, so we're going to go right to them, and we will say hello this morning to Christina. Christina, how are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. I kind of feel Chris's frustration, and I hope you don't attack me the same way. So here is my little blurb. Honestly, my question is, the budget of the taxes, how is it my problem? And this is my issue. I'm 45 years old. I bought a house from the bank for $200,000. I work 45 to 50 hours a week, making $45,000 a year. In the last 5 years, my taxes have gone up $600. I had to get a roommate. Now the roommate income brings up my income taxes, so now I have to pay income taxes. Now that your guys are increasing the budget again, I have to pay more, which goes into my food budget. I don't qualify for any government assistance in terms of renovating my home. I'm completely on my own. A 7-minute car drive in Cole Harbour takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. None of my services have been increased. What am I supposed to do?
Start with you, Councillor Cleary.
Well, I'll just start, Christina. So thanks for the question. But you mentioned a roommate brings up your taxes. A roommate in a residential building doesn't bring up your taxes. So I'll just leave that there. Only commercial assessments are assessed in terms of the income that they bring in, not residential.
No, I've been dinged. I have to claim that income as income.
No, that's an income tax thing with the provincial and federal government. That's not a municipal property tax.
But it's all connected.
But it's an expense nonetheless, Sean.
Yeah, no, I understand it's an expense. It just doesn't impact your property taxes. And so, so you said you live in Cole Harbour, I think. So Cole Harbour, and I would encourage you to reach out to Councillor Purdy.
That doesn't work. We've been going back and forth. We've been trying to get transit, and it's not working.
Yeah, and so, Councillor Purdy has been one of the ones who's been most vociferous in her opposition to things like active transportation, transit. She doesn't like the integrated mobility plan. In fact, she has a motion to try to, stop spending money on complete streets. So the unfortunate thing is in those suburban areas, I'll back up for a second. Over the last 50 to 60 years, the growth pattern in Halifax has been to bulldoze forests in the suburban areas, put in, single track housing. And for a period of time, it worked for us as it did for a lot of other cities. Those chickens have come home to roost now, unfortunately. So low density suburban car dependent areas don't pay for themselves. So they're subsidized by the urban core when it comes to taxes. And because we've grown and the vast majority of our districts don't pay for themselves, the taxes per unit have to go up in order to cover that because we just can't afford the fire and the police and the garbage collection that a more dense city could. And so that's why we have curtailed that development pattern over the last 7-8 years. And in the last 5 years now, I think we've had about half or more than half of all new development happening in the urban core to try and re-densify those areas and then further densify them. And all those suburban areas to do what we call suburban sprawl repair so that we can create kind of main streets, create a more walkable, add transit, do all those things so that we can reduce the pressure on tax increases. But unfortunately, because of the pattern of development in Halifax for the last 50 to 60 years, that pressure is not going away. It's going to take probably another 10 to 20 years to completely reverse the hole we've dug ourselves, which is what we've been trying to do on council for the last 7, 8, 9 years now.
Christina, before
Now,
we come
I
back,
understand
go
that.
ahead.
Sorry, I understand that, but again, my income is basically capped, and I understand we need the funding for services, especially our first responders. Like, we got to stop cutting funding for them because we had these high rises anyway. That's another story. Thank God. But in terms of raising the property taxes again, honestly, I'm so frustrated. Give me the budget and I'll do it. Because it's just like every time I hear you guys aren't getting along.
Click on budget. Yep, you can click on budget and you can see all the documents there. If you have suggestions to send in, you can send them to all council, send them to me. I'd be certainly happy to bring them forward for you.
Thank you. I need you guys to get along and realize it's not about the big businesses making money. It's about us Gen Xers who are struggling so hard just to eat. And that needs to be the focus of council, not these big businesses investing into apartment buildings. You need to focus on us. Anyway, that's my rant today. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, Christina. And just so Christina knows, that is the focus. So those big businesses invest in, actually most of them are medium and small businesses, investing in development. We actually tax them extra. So if they build anything over 2,000 square meters, we charge them an extra development tax that goes into affordable housing grants that we provide to nonprofit organizations for affordable housing development. And so the focus for the last number of years has definitely been on how can we make things more affordable for residents. And we have, in fact, been taxing those developments much higher than we used to.
Before we go to you, Councillor Mancini, this is from the mayor's numbers, okay? 11.2 is what we're at right now, 8.9 and 27, 12 and 28, 12 and 29, compounded 50%. My salary's not going up 50%. What do you say to taxpayers?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, let me respond to Christina first, if I may, because, sure. Christina, I hear you. You may not think that we don't hear you, but we do, because I've heard from other Christinas also. I hear the struggle that you're having. I worry about my own kids. My own kids are 26 and 31, and they're going to be wanting that first house, and it's a real challenge. And they've got good paying jobs, and they've got education. I hear that. I appreciate your support for the first responders. We need to continue to support those men and women to make sure they're safe and able to do the job. And, and your claim is correct. What services are going up where the taxes are going up? Well, the cost of everything is going up. Transit has to be the focus that we increase and get better at, not tomorrow, but today. And it's a balance, right? So all of the pain that you've shared with us, I hear it, but there's a lot of factors there, right? Insurance has gone up, fuel has gone up, and we're one element of it. And we do have to do a good job of trying to keep these taxes down, and we are. I know it's frustrating. I really do know it's frustrating, and we are trying to do it. We're trying to keep those taxes down.
50% increase in 5 years, Tony. That obviously that's the working numbers,
yeah, that's right,
and I appreciate your explanation earlier on. But when somebody's sitting around their kitchen table looking at their budget, if they budget 5 years out, how do they budget for that?
Yep, it is very difficult. So we have to continue to work, like the work of the Halifax Partnership, continue to bring businesses here, continue to bring employment here. We have to do the work and try to work with our colleagues in the province and making sure there's more affordable housing out there. I think the vacancy rate is 2.7% vacancy rate right now, and that number needs to go up a little more. There's so many factors in this. So we do hear you. We do care. We are working on it. It's not frivolous stuff that we're working on. And there's debates, right? And over a lot of the projects, what projects should we be working on, which ones should we reduce, which ones we should cancel. That's the conversation right now. We hear you, Christina. We really do.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's say hello to Kevin. Kevin, how are you?
How you doing today?
Good. Your question for the counselors, please.
Well, it's maybe not so much of a question, but a statement. And I listen to your show regularly, first-time caller.
Thanks, Kevin.
But, you have a lot of people that call in, these experts that call in, and I'm not a counselor, never was, don't have any intention to be, don't work for the city or anything like that. I just listen, and people call in, like some of your callers earlier. I think they have it captured. They probably get a lot of their information on the internet, and I wish our counselors focus on how to make our government or to make our city and people more efficient, but they call in and they want cuts to this, cuts to that today, because they want to pay less taxes, which I do as well. But if they did make that happen, the person that just called in was going to do it herself. Yeah, we're going to cut this, we're going to cut that. Then when we have the snowstorm and you don't get plowed out for 2 days, or you get a fire call and the fire truck shows up with 2 people on it, or they want to go to the pool but the pool's only open 1 day a week because we're cutting. They'd probably be the first people to call in and complain then that they're not getting enough. So I guess my point is probably really, really tough to be in your position every year to make this budget work and give everybody what they want. But it seems like a lot of people want the gold star. They don't want to pay for it. And, in my head anyway, like, people need to be realistic and say, okay, really, what do I need, or what can we afford? And I hope that the counselors are working their hardest to make that happen. And that's my statement. Thank you very kindly for having me on.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Councillor Mancini, thoughts?
Well, thanks, Kevin. It's truly a balance. It really is. So I go back to, I think Christina's comments are so valid, and there's a lot of people in Christina's category. Kevin's hit the nail on the head. We can reduce the salaries and we can lay people off, like the mayor is suggesting, but that also means huge ramifications to services. Christina's comment was she's not seeing new services for the money, even though the money is going up, but that's because everything is going up. So there is that balance. We have to find that balance, and we continue to work hard on that.
Councillor Clary?
Well, yeah, I appreciate Kevin's comments on that. So, and we do focus on trying to make government more efficient. And, sometimes we will spend an hour talking about a $10,000 expense during our budget deliberations. So we scrutinize every dollar that we spend. Just to put it in perspective, so Halifax has, if you look at major cities across Canada, about middle of the pack. We're not the lowest, we're definitely not the highest. We're about middle of the pack in terms of the tax bills that residents get. So one might say, well, then we would expect middle of the road kind of services. But residents don't want that. Residents want the gold standard of what they want, and I want that too. So our challenge is, how do we get the best services possible for Halifax, given the tax base we have and the limited tools? And we've had this discussion many times at council. 80% of our revenue comes from property taxes. We have very limited tools that the provincial government has given us in order to raise revenue. They don't supply us with a lot of operating revenue as opposed to other cities across Canada. For example, other major cities get funding for operations for their transit from their provincial government. We get $0 from the provincial government for operating transit. If you look at the grants that we get, that we have to petition the federal or provincial governments for, we don't get, more than our fair share across Canada from federal money, and we certainly don't get more than our fair share of provincial grants for municipalities across Nova Scotia. And so it's a struggle for us. And Tony hit it on the head. We're trying to do the best we can and provide the best services we can with the tax base that we have. And, bear in mind, the provincial government has frozen for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years now. I'm trying to think when they came in office. So almost 5 years, at least 4. Our development fees. We're not allowed to increase development charges. And so that means that all that new infrastructure that has to be built, whether it's a new fire station, whether it's a new recreation center, whether it's new roads, whether it's upgrading other types of infrastructure, we have to get all the taxpayers across the municipality to pay for that growth rather than the development that's creating the need in the first place. And so that's another thing that we're trying to work with the provincial government on, is we have some of the lowest development fees. I think it's about $15,000 for a new unit of construction here in Halifax. You go to a place like Vaughan, Ontario, I think it's $130,000. Now, that's ridiculously high, but we have the lowest development fees of any city that I know of across Canada. And so we're struggling to pay for things because we have very limited revenue tools to use.
Going to take a break. Counselors on the Hot Seat continues on the other side. You're listening to The Veinotte Show. We're back in minutes. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. In the studio is Councillor Tony Mancini. On the phone with us today is Councillor Sean Clary. And there's a couple of lines open. We'll try to get to as many as we can. We welcome Gloria to the program. Gloria, how are you?
I'm fine, Dan. How are you?
I'm well. What's your question, please?
Anyway, good morning, councillors. I have some suggestions for you.
Okay.
First of all, what is the cost to the taxpayers of your non-union employees, total cost?
What is the cost? You mean how much we spend?
I don't have that at the top of my head.
Yeah.
You don't have that? That should be at the top of your head. If you're looking for places to cut, it wouldn't be any problem cutting these salaries. I can understand your discussion about the mayor saying cut unionized salaries. No problem cutting these. You should look at those. They're part of the blame. They should be part of the pain. And don't give me the old story about we want to attract the best people and we can't lose these people. There would be a lineup of well-qualified people waiting to get those jobs.
So,
And
Gloria,
first
sorry,
of all,
Gloria,
council should start.
Gloria,
by,
I'm sorry to interrupt you for a second, if I may. Sorry, Gloria. I just want to...
Pardon? Let me talk. You can answer when I'm through, Tony. When I'm all through, you can answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And you should set an example by canceling your own pay increase. That would be a good way to start. The other way was early retirement and not fill the positions. When I was with the provincial government in the 80s, that's what they did. I was one of the people to go. And if you went, they gave you a couple of extra years on your pension.
Right.
It did not do anything to the quality of service that the province was offering. And finally, the only departments that should be receiving an increase in budget are fire, police, and the works department. You should be going to every other department and asking them to cut their budget. And Tony, don't ask me about running because I ran at 85 when 5 ran against me and I had more votes than all of them. And I would run at 95 and get elected because people are looking for councillors with common sense. Okay? Now you can answer me, Tony.
I wasn't going to ask if you were going to run again, Gloria, but anyhow. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just, you were asking about the percentage of workers that are...
Not the percentage, the amount.
Amounts. The third-party service review that I think we both mentioned earlier on is looking at all of that. They're looking at the compensations. They're looking at the buyouts, the early retirement. That's already in the works to take a look at that.
But if you don't know the total salary, how are you looking at it?
Well, the staff are looking at that right now and sharing.
Well, never mind the staff. It's
Gloria, come on, Gloria.
Going to make the decision.
You never remember the staff, Gloria. I mean, you asked the question. I'm trying to answer it. So don't tell me.
Okay, go ahead, Tony.
So they are looking at that, Gloria. That's the whole process. And now the mayor's motion was trying to fast track that without that information.
I know that. I know that. I understand his motion, and I agree that it's not a quick thing to do with unionized employees.
So that third-party service review is looking at all these things that you mentioned, and I agree with you too that our emergency services we are behind, as you know, with those folks, and they're doing the best they can. But it's concerning how we're growing, yet they're not growing as it should be. So some of that work that you're suggesting is being done, and hopefully we're going to have that conversation. Won't be in time for this budget season, but hopefully this summer, so we can have this conversation further.
We've only got about a minute left. Councillor Clary, I'd like your thoughts, please.
And what about early retirement?
And so for Gloria's question around cutting non-unionized, so that would largely be managers. As Tony said, we're looking at that. Don't forget, though, that fire and police make up 80% of our sunshine list. So
hey, I was on council. Don't waste
You're
the
not
time
going to be able to cut major salaries.
You're wasting time by telling me that. I know that.
Transit is a place that I am not willing to cut. That wasn't on Gloria's list. And when it comes to canceling the councillor pay increase, I'll remind Gloria that, in fact, it was my motion. We froze our salaries several times while I've been a councillor, and I hope she's providing the same advice, because don't forget, I think the provincial MLAs just increased their own wages.
I'm not talking about provincial MLAs.
20 or 30%.
Stop getting off track. I'm talking about
just
you.
answering your question, Gloria.
No, I didn't talk about the MLAs. That wasn't my question. My question was you should cancel your pay increase.
Okay, let the councillor finish. We're almost out of time.
Well, you know what? We maybe we should look at paring back the pension benefits.
What pension benefit? I don't get any. So you're not hurting me. I walked out of there 23 and a half years with no pension. So that doesn't hurt me, Councillor Clary. Anyway, I'll let you go. Those are suggestions.
Didn't you try to get David Hensby to get you a pension?
Pardon me?
Didn't you try to get David Hensby to get you a pension? I recall that.
No, David Hensby did not try to get me a pension.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that email.
You're ill-informed again.
All right,
anyway,
Gloria. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Councillor Clary, thanks for your time. We're out of time. It's always a pleasure.
My pleasure, Dan.
And Councillor Mancini, always a pleasure to have you in the studio. Nice to see you again.
The pleasure is mine. We can stick around for another hour if you want.
Well, you never know. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Time for the open hour. Did you like stuff you heard there? Did you not like stuff you heard there? Or want to bring something else to the table? Regular rules apply. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're back after the news. All right, welcome back. It's Monday. It's time for the first open hour of the week. The telephone lines are open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Certainly a vigorous, was that the right way to describe that? Hour that we just had with our counselors on the hot seat segment. Many of you sending emails either supporting or not supporting the positions or the demeanor of those that were on counselors on the hot seat. And I appreciate all the emails, but I also appreciate phone calls, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. It's an unevident, it's a terrible position. I can't get the word out today. It is a not comfortable position, I would imagine, being a city councillor. And I'm not going to apologize for their behavior or what they do, but it can't be a comfortable position because no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you're going to tick off a bunch of people, particularly when it comes to budget time. Right? If you take the advice of former Dartmouth Mayor and Councillor Gloria McCuskey and just get rid of or start to eliminate the non-unionized positions at City Hall, you're going to tick off some people. You're going to make some people happy. If you slash the budget down to a 0% increase in rate, HRM taxpayers are still going to pay 4% in tax increases next year because of the rise in assessment. You're going to slash a bunch of services and a bunch of programming and likely eliminate a number of jobs, and you're still going to make everybody mad. Now, I know, I get it. That's what we pay them for. That's why they put their name on the ballot, they throw their hat into the ring, and they do the job. But it can't be a comfortable position when you're going through the budget, particularly at times like this. Tell me I'm wrong. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I've got a mitt full of emails that emanated out of the last hour that we just spent here on Councillors on the Hot Seat. Ken writes, HRM must rein in its spending. We're told that spending is necessary for our future. I would ask, how is passing on our rapidly increasing debt to our children helping their future? Our financial health is in the emergency room and needs surgery ASAP. And that comes to us from Ken. Another Ken writes, in response to the the exchange between caller Chris and Councillor Mancini. He says that Mancini has to realize that he is the public servant, not Chris. HRM councillors are accountable to the public and not vice versa. I thought there was an HRM code of conduct that HRM staff and councillors must adhere to. Perhaps a recording of Mancini's dialogue should be sent to HRM. I used to respect Tony Mancini, but today he lost it. That comes to us from Ken. Tom writes, "Hey, Dan, it's so typical that these folks," and he puts in brackets, councillors. Tony now wants staff to do his or their job by deciding what gets cut and who gets laid off. Tony just showed his true colors by demeaning Chris. The only reason Tony's angry at Chris is unlike Tony, Chris has the facts and is well prepared for discussions. I will hope that Chris keeps doing what he does and that he keeps councillors on their toes. Tony said, for Tony to say that most do not agree with Chris is crap, and Tony knows it. This one from Bill, it reads, "The problem with what Cleary is saying," that was Councillor Sean Cleary, "is about people saying tax me more, I can afford it. People that can't are worried about losing their homes and feeding their families. Seems the councillors care more about the wealthy." And that comes to us from Bill. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. That is the telephone lines, and they're wide open, folks. If you want to get onto the show and join the conversation, by all means do so. Again, regular rules apply. You can bring whatever you want to bring to the discussion. That's what the open hour is about. You want to talk about what you heard for the last hour, that certainly is fair game. If you want to perhaps discuss yesterday's gold medal hockey game, that is on the agenda. That certainly is fair game as well. Or maybe something else that you want to bring to the attention of our listeners. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Gino writes, "Hey, Dan, we don't pay them to take the abuse that some of these callers give them. Nobody should take that abuse." I'll agree with you to a point on that, Gino. But I will also agree to disagree with you on a majority of it. We certainly don't pay them to take abuse. That's not what we pay anybody to do. We pay them to manage the city, to act as the board of directors of the corporation of HRM. That's what, is my opinion, a councillor is. They're ultimately responsible for budgeting for the year. And because municipal governments are unable to carry a deficit budget, like we're going to say today from the province, then that's how the taxes are increased. That's why taxes are increased. I will suggest that councillors need to hear criticisms. I will suggest that councillors need to hear opinions. I will suggest that councillors need to perhaps be put into an uncomfortable position. But I also don't think that councillors are automatons. I don't think that councillors should just absolutely sit back and take all comers without perhaps questioning some of the content of said comers, if that makes any sense. I think that councillors, and I had this discussion with Councillor Mancini before the show today, I don't think that there are 17 people that sit around that budget committee table that truly aren't trying to do what they think is best for the city. I really don't. I think that they have different opinions and different views on things, and some of them I don't agree with. Some of them I know you don't agree with. But there has to be discourse in democracy, I think, is the best way to describe that. Now, should somebody get into a screaming match with a caller on the radio? I'll leave that to you to decide if that's appropriate or not. I'm in a no-win situation when those things happen too, right? If I cut them off immediately, y'all yell at me because I'm cutting them off and I'm protecting the counselor. If I let it go on as long as I let it go on today, you call and criticize me because I'm supporting the discourse. So it's really a no-win situation. I let that go as long as I could until it got into a point where it was just yelling and screaming over top of each other and nobody could hear anything. And on the radio, it's useless. But I think there needs to be discourse. There needs to be questions asked. But I also think that counselors need to be passionate about their responses. Disagree with me? 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're back after the break. Welcome back to the open hour, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We say hello to Len. Len, how are you?
Welcome back to the open hour.
Holy Len, you got to turn the radio down, my friend. We'll let the delay catch up so you can turn your radio off, and then you can join the conversation. Are you there, Len?
Delay catch up so you can.
We'll put him on hold, and we'll let that catch up. Len, I'll come back to you in a minute or so. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This email comes to us from Rob. And it reads, just to that lady's Gen X comment, my house has to remain in a squalor because if I improve any of it, my taxes will double. I'm the only person with an income in my house, and these $300 there and $50 there increases, which counselors keep saying is not much in the grand scheme of things, is actually a lot in the grand scheme of things for residents. Tens of millions are being spent on bike lanes that are barely used. Nobody's using them today or all winter, and even in any windy city or any windy or rainy day. On sunny days, I've driven all over the city, and I've only seen 3 or 4 cyclists on my route. In 2020, Cleary said to Whitman that he thought cyclist usage might go to 2% or even to 5%. Let's go back to the phones and say hello to Len. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
What's on your mind?
I just want 2 things I want to say. First of all, on the bike lanes, that the counselors would like, and many people would like to see people driving their bikes, but I would like to ask them one question first. Would you be willing to drive your bike in our climate during the winter months? And how many of you people drive your bikes to work every day? I'd like to hear that answer from them. Number 2 is, I'm a born Canadian, Dan, and I'm proud to be a Canadian. But we're losing our name to the United States. They keep beating us in hockey and in the NHL and in the Olympics. We can't seem to win.
So our entire identity is hockey, Len? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're not losing our identity in hockey, but we can't seem to win the big games that would make Trump sit back and with his tail between his legs instead of coming up with stuff saying we're better than Canada, even in hockey now. I feel sorry for our Canadian team, why we cannot really accomplish that in the last, I think, how long has it been since we won the Olympics in the hockey? Do you know?
I think Salt Lake was the last one. I think is the last gold medal that we had. So I think that was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. And it's too bad that we don't, that we can't seem to, I don't think we put enough money into our sports sometime. And that's the hard thing about it. But when hockey comes, I would have thought that our players are just as good as anybody in the world, but we just can't seem to come through with it.
I think the rest of the world's caught up to us, Len, is what I think it is, right?
Yeah,
I don't think that having Canadians, and I appreciate the call, Len, I really do. I don't think having a Canada jersey on an ice at an Olympic Games or a World Championship guarantees you a gold medal anymore. I really don't think that's the case. I think that there were 5 teams in that tournament that could have easily won the gold medal. It's not an absolute shoo-in anymore. It's the same at the World Juniors. Right? You used to watch the World Junior Tournament at Christmas time so that you could watch Canada dominate everybody else. And then we got to the gold medal game or the American game, and that was the marquee event. Now it is not the case anymore. It's like that in many of our so-called Canadian events. right? Remember when it used to go to curling and it was almost a guarantee Canada was going to be in the final? Or at least in the medal round? Now, we won medals this time around, and congratulations to Brad Jacobs for the gold and to Rachel Homan for the bronze. But it's not a shoo-in anymore. The rest of the world is caught up. I think that Canada, if we really and truly want to be a powerhouse in sports, in winter sports, then I think that we need to really start looking at the infrastructure that we have and think outside the hockey rink. But that's just my opinion. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Hello, Louise.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can, loud and clear. What's on your mind?
Great. So I just wanted to make a correction, and I have no personal interest in this, but Shelley last week called and mentioned that the federal government gave $500,000 to the local restaurant Mesa to open a fifth location.
Right.
And I looked into it, and what it was it's a repayable loan of $5 million, and it was to open a new state-of-the-art food processing facility so that they could expand and, just better the company, like supporting local. And it was repayable, so it wasn't money directly for them to open a fifth location.
Appreciate the clarification, Louise.
All right. Thank you. Love your show.
Thank you very much. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That's the number. Let's go back to the phones, and now we say hello to William. William, how are you?
Oh, hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Just when you were talking to Len, you said that the last time that Canada won the gold was Salt Lake.
Was I wrong?
Yeah, well, they won in Vancouver in 2010.
2010.
They won in Sochi in 2014. And then the pros never went again until now. So most times that they send the NHLers, we've been doing quite well. I mean, obviously everyone knows how close the game was yesterday. But, from 1952 when we won the gold medal in 52, no pros went until 98. And that was the year they didn't let Gretzky take the penalty shot, and we didn't win, but we won in 2002 in Salt Lake. So, I mean, we've got a pretty good track record, and, anyone that's saying that, we're not good at hockey is not paying attention. That's all my point, yeah.
Stand corrected, William. Thank you.
Okay, buddy.
Have a good one. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. 2014, Canada won its 9th gold medal and defeated Sweden. So I do stand corrected on that. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Hello, Tanya.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. Just in response to what Len was saying, he was going on about hockey and what's Trump going to think, and oh my God, if Canada won and all this other stuff. You know what? Who cares? The guys fought hard. They played a hell of a game, a hell of a match. If it wasn't for the goalie on the U.S., we'd be winners right now. I mean, we're winners anyway. We got a silver. The guys did a great job. And you know what? We have a wonderful country here. We do not have a pedophile and a rapist that's leading our country. So, Len, think about that.
Thanks, Tanya.
Have a great day.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That is the number, and it's very interesting, right, when it comes to all the other Olympic events. Maybe I can include curling on this. But between those events, men's and women's hockey, it is gold or nothing, right? In any other event, if Canada gets a silver medal, we're shouting it from the rooftops. But when it comes to hockey and to men's and women's hockey, silver's a loss. And it's a disappointment. And and that goes right from the players right to the fans, right through Hockey Canada itself. If we don't win gold at an Olympic Games, if we don't win gold or at the Four Nations Cup, if we don't win gold at a World Championship, if we ever have one of those again, it's a disappointment. I look forward to your thoughts after we get an update on the news right here at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to the Open Hour on the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Back in minutes. All right, welcome back. It is the Monday Open Hour. Lines are open, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Back to the phones to say hello to Barry. Barry, how are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm kind of annoyed with Canadian fans. I mean, the States hasn't won since 1980. Basically, if you look at the stats, we did have better stats, but so what? Who's the better team goes on the score, 2-1. I feel bad about McKinnon missing the empty net, but it just goes that way. And by the way, with the goaltending that's in there now, before the series, there's teams like Sweden, Czechia, that might be as good, but if you run into a hot goalie, you can lose.
That's what this tournament's all about, right? And that's what happened, I think.
Before it started, hey,
yep.
That Dotson or whatever it was, playing Canada, that first overtime game, God, he was unbelievable.
Right.
And they weren't even close to Canada.
No.
But when you lose, show a little class. Some, they're not as good as us. That's garbage. Stats don't mean nothing. The only stat that counts is the final one. And if you're great winners, show a little class when you lose.
You know what? And thanks, Barry. I appreciate it. One of the classiest things I saw during the fracas after the game was Austin Matthews, captain of Team USA. Having some words with Connor McDavid, who had a fantastic tournament, was the MVP. So it's very interesting. You know, the Americans get this reputation, particularly with those brothers that play on that team, who I won't name, and tend to be, very boisterous, very in your face, very controversial, can I say? But at this tournament, it wasn't like that, and I think it was the magnitude of what the Olympics are that got everybody to kind of focus on their games. Right? I was concerned about Tom Wilson on Team Canada. I was worried that he was going to, and he did lay a pretty significant hit in yesterday's game, that he was going to be Tom Wilson and take a major penalty. And you know what? He controlled his game, and he didn't. And I will disagree with you, Barry. I don't think that the best team on the ice yesterday won the game. I think that Canada was the better team on the ice. But you're correct. You're 100% correct in that they ran into a hot goalie, and that's what happens. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Hello, Chris.
Good morning again, Dan.
You fired him up today, my friend.
Well, look, Dan, I can't help it. You don't know how upset I am with the way things have gone the last few years with this council. And as a taxpayer, I've lived in this city for 45 years. And why they just can't do the right thing and always have to blame someone else or something else or whatever. I listened to the Rob Snow show on Thursday, and he highlighted on his show the tax increases that all the major cities in Canada are facing for this year. We are by far the highest. Quebec City, for example, is looking at 1.5%. Toronto, 2.2%. Most of them average between 3 and 5%. If other cities who are also facing inflation problems and stuff, the same as the rest of us, if they can do it, why can't we do it here? And I think the taxpayer, we demand or should be demanding more from our councillors. They've just got a big pay increase. They're over $108,000 a year right now, and what value, ask ourselves, what value are we getting for it? If you were running a corporation, a company, and you were getting the value that we're not getting, in my opinion, from our city council, would you raise the staff salaries? And talking about staff, they have staff recommend staff cuts or reductions to staff salaries. Do you actually think that's going to happen? Why would staff be induced in any way, shape, or form to reduce their own numbers or reduce their own salaries? that's ridiculous. There's got to be a different mechanism for looking at this than leaving it up to staff. I don't think, in all honesty and fairness to our council, I don't think it's entirely or mostly their fault that this is happening. I think it's their fault that they're not taking a hold of things and doing the job what I consider to be done in a proper way. I think staff is the problem. Staff comes back with these numbers, and council doesn't have the time or the inclination to try and verify them. So they accept them for what they are, and they say, well, staff report this, staff said this, so this is what we have to do. Staff is the problem. I don't know how you get around that, but staff, I really believe, is the big problem. And also, to highlight what Cleary had mentioned when I brought up creative strategies in their latest survey, just because their results did not align with his ideological agendas, well, Crestview fudged the numbers. They rigged it. I mean, come on, for God's sake. These polling companies, whether you agree with the results or not, I really don't think they're out there purposely trying to fudge the numbers and mislead people. The numbers are the numbers, aren't they, Todd or Dan?
Well, and I'll agree with you. You can certainly manipulate questions to get a result. I think that can happen, but I don't think they're going to go out and absolutely fake them. That would be disastrous if that ever got out. The polling company would lose its livelihood.
Well,
Period.
I mean, you heard Sean Cleary what he said about Crestview. I mean, if I were Crestview, I think I'd be having my lawyers fire a letter off to him and HRM for that's I don't know what it's certainly a degrading comment to make for just off the top of your head like that about a company that is doing this sort of thing. I believe, but we do have to look at what's going on down there, and council should be sticking to the things that we need, not the nice to haves and the want to haves. It's easy, I think, to look at the budget and say, what shouldn't we cut? Public Works. No, don't cut that. We need that. Look at all the potholes and everything else. Fire and
That's
police
just
services.
it, though, isn't it, Chris? I mean, you and I can sit here and we can run down the budget item by item, and I'll bet you that your list of wants and needs are going to be different than my list of wants and needs.
Well, Dan, it's funny. Maybe you and I should sit down and have a coffee sometime and go over that just to test that theory out. I'll bet you anything that yours and my views on what should be cut or could be cut or looked at wouldn't be all that different. There would be some differences, certainly, but I don't think it would be all that different because you're paying property taxes the same as I am. It's just that yours is included in another bill, which is your rent.
Yep, 100%. Chris,
right?
hey, I appreciate it, my friend.
Dan, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Take care. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That is the number if you want to get onto the program and join the conversation. Ken writes here on the show that into my comment on Tom Wilson, he said at the end of the game, Tom Wilson was hugging most of the American players. With Ovechkin aging, TJ Oshie and Nick Backstrom retired, the Capitals no longer have a powerhouse. I can see Tom Wilson traded to the Oilers to play on the wing with Connor McDavid. Oh my goodness, I don't know if that's in the cards, Ken, but it was a question mark for me and for many. I think when we saw that Tom Wilson was added to the team, given his reputation and the way that he plays the game, it was a question to me and to many others when we saw that initial lineup when the tournament started that had Tom Wilson on the top line of Team Canada. But I got to give him credit. He plays the game a certain way, right? And maybe with the exception of that, what some would consider a questionable hit behind the net in the gold medal game, Tom Wilson behaved himself. Because when it comes to representing your country for these guys, we can't say that their heart isn't in it, that they're playing for the name on the back rather than the crest on the front. I think that because Team Canada is Team Canada and getting on that team is not easy to do, the Sam Bennett's, I know Sam Bennett took a kind of a wild penalty there in the quarterfinals, but Sam Bennett, who has a reputation, Brad Marchand, who has a reputation, and Tom Wilson, who has a reputation, all managed to grab a hold of the rope and pull in the same direction as the rest of Team Canada. I don't know if that comes down to John Cooper's coaching or if that is just the weight of wearing that maple leaf on your chest. I don't know if we'll ever know. We're back after the break. All right, welcome back. 902-405-6000-1-877-801-8255. Back to the phone lines, and we say hello to Andrew. Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
So I was listening, I think, to an earlier caller, and his question was how many cyclists are actually out there this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought as a daily cyclist, I could give my findings.
Sure.
So I'm out there every day. It's how I get anywhere, the grocery store, to work. And I've seen a huge increase in other people like that this year in particular. So I think there's quite a few of us out there. However, I have a bit of a unique perspective on the cycling infrastructure. I think a lot of it is a huge waste of city money.
Really?
A lot of it doesn't actually connect well. It's not incredibly, it doesn't incorporate with the roads very well. For example, on Brunswick Street there, they've recently switched everything over to one side of the road rather than the lanes on both sides.
And took all the parking away. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're coming from the downtown area on your bicycle, you actually have no way to enter that protected lane. So you're in the road anyway.
Right. Is it a two-way lane? I've not been on it. So can you go both ways on that lane?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can't access it from.
Yeah, you gotta put yourself at risk just to get to the lane, right?
Yeah. That's it's very poorly planned, and I think a lot of it's like that. I say, let's fix the actual roads rather than giving cyclists a new strip. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Andrew, can I ask, do you live on the peninsula?
I do, yeah.
So you commute?
I'm in the downtown core.
So you commute to the grocery store, and do you commute to work on your bike?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Rain or shine, snow, all weather.
In January and February and March, how many active cyclists do you see on your commute to work daily?
I see a handful, that's
right.
for sure. It's increased a lot, and
right.
I think it will continue to increase as the city just becomes unaffordable.
Right.
So I think it is important, but I think we're looking at it in the wrong way at this point in time. There are so many other issues we could be putting money into other than bike lanes. We already have roads.
Andrew, there's been debate about sort of the level of standard of the bike lanes. The bollarded ones with the curbs and everything else, obviously the safest. Would you be good with just a painted line?
Absolutely. I'd be fine without the line. I think it's an accountability issue, not an infrastructure issue.
Right.
Just drive safe.
Appreciate the thoughts and appreciate the perspective, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. I'd be interested to hear what other cyclists and other drivers think of that.
Me too. Andrew, appreciate it. Have a good day. Drive safe.
You too.
Take care. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Hello, Greg.
Hey, how you doing, Dan?
Good. It's on your mind.
Watched the hockey game. Well, no, I was in church, and then I got out and we a bit of it. But
you weren't watching it on your phone when you were in church?
No, I wouldn't do that. No. My wife would give me the evil eye if I did.
No
anyway.
doubt. Absolutely.
No, but no, I mean it's sometimes you gotta give credit where credit is due. I mean the Americans beat. It was a tough game. Could have gone either way. But heated rivalry. And then Nathan McKinnon missing a wide open net.
Right.
I said that's gonna come back to haunt them, and sure enough, it did.
Yeah, it did. And Connor Hellebuck stood on his head, right?
Yes, but the good goal scorers do not miss those lines, like the Gretzkys, the Lafleurs, and those guys.
Mario Lemieux missed one. They showed it on the broadcast that Mario missed one.
Oh yeah, okay, one.
Yeah,
okay.
well, Nate missed one too.
How many?
Well, that's just it.
But I mean, I'm just saying is that it's they're two heated rivals, and it raised everybody's expectation and everything, and it was good. But again, sometimes you can't win them all.
Great points, Greg. Appreciate it, sir.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's go back to the phones and say hello to Andrew. Andrew, how are you?
Hey, Dan. Good. How are you?
I'm all right. What's on your mind?
Just a few points on the hockey game. Number one, Canada outplayed them. You look at the shots, and it was, I don't know if it was double, but it was like 40-20, right? So that's going to show you that those boys really outplayed the Americans.
There's no doubt the last two periods for sure.
Number two, when you're playing 3-on-3 hockey, it is so easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And when Connor McDavid fanned on that shot, that was a lucky break, a 3-on-1 for those Americans. And any professional hockey player, when you have a 3-on-1, it's most likely a goal. So it comes down to bad luck, especially in 3-on-3, right? They did everything to come back and tie that game up, and it was amazing.
Same could be said with a 5-on-3 power play with the best players in the world.
Exactly,
right?
And they missed that chance. Yeah,
right.
So it was unlucky. Final point I want to make.
Sure.
This is a game where you've got two teams going for a win, and the losing team is obviously going to be devastated.
Right.
Now they walked away with second place, which is amazing. Second in the world on the biggest stage. It's pretty amazing. When you look into skiing and snowboarding and all that stuff, and I don't want to bring these guys down, they're amazing athletes, but you're talking about a tenth of a second, which can put them from first place to second place to third place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see these snowboarders and skiers and all the athletes that are competing for time. I mean, they're amazed when they get first, second, third. I think the difference when you have a hockey game and a curling game, you're going to have a loser. And
right.
That loss really, really hits hard. Even though you're getting second place, third place, like Rachel Homan, she was pretty happy to get third place, but she was pretty devastated when she lost that semifinal.
Yeah, you win the gold, you lose the silver, you win the bronze, right? It just feels kind of
right.
weird. Yep.
That's right. Second place is hard to deal with sometimes, and the Americans got lucky. I don't know if they have a better hockey team, but they got lucky. And there'll be another stage in another 2 years at Four Nations, and there'll be another stage in 4 years for those boys to get back on the stage. And now it's just they want to play for something, right? It's just going to go back and forth, back and forth.
You bet. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Andrew.
Awesome, man. Take care.
Take care. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Last word today goes to Doug. Doug, how are you?
Hey, doing well. Yourself?
I'm okay. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is after the last snowstorm, wife and I took a trip into town.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed was the sidewalks have to be plowed, the bike lanes have to be plowed, and then the roadway has to be plowed, which seems to me that there's an extra plow in there somewhere because the road plow used to clear the whole road. Now it can't because of all the barriers and all the sticks and stuff that are standing up. So now we have to put another smaller plow in there to plow out that lane. And I'm just wondering, is that an extra expense that we're paying for? Is that where our tax money is going?
That's a fair question. Makes sense, right?
Well, I lived in the city all my life. I moved out of the city, and now I come back, and I can't even get around anymore. But that just caught my eye the other day that the sidewalk needs a 3-foot machine, let's say. The bike lane needs a 3-foot machine, and the plow, of course, has an 8 or 10-foot blade, whatever. So it seems to me that the plow plows it onto the bike lane, then the bike lane plows it onto the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk plows it wherever they plow it. I don't know.
Right.
But it just seems to me that it's a lot of extra equipment required.
Feels like there's at least an extra step in there, right?
There certainly is.
Right. Thanks, Doug.
Anyway, that's the end of my rant. Have a good day.
All right. And thanks to all of you who dialed the number and joined the conversation. I truly appreciate it. It wasn't that long ago in HRM that most of the sidewalks, particularly in the residential areas, were shoveled by the person who lived there. And now that doesn't happen anymore. And now we've got an extra set of an extra piece of infrastructure to shovel when it comes to the bike lanes on the major routes. I think Doug raises an interesting point. I would be interested to see if those sidewalk contracts, if it's the same plow that does the bike lanes and the sidewalks, and if those contracts are costing more, and what the ongoing, and I'm sure it's out there, the ongoing maintenance budget is, and how that increases yearly as we add new infrastructure into the bike lanes. Be an interesting discussion point. Going to stop. We're going to take a break. The show's going to continue on the other side of it. When we come back, speaking of snow, how much are we getting? It looks like, is this Snowmageddon? A conversation with our meteorologist, Alistair Alders, with the very latest on this storm that closed some schools today, seeing early dismissals, and likely is going to close some schools tomorrow. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back, and we're gearing up for another battle with Mother Nature, as we can expect to see a nor'easter, or as CNN's calling this thing, a bomb cyclone that's working its way up the eastern seaboard and will impact our weather over the next, 24, maybe 36 hours. With the very latest information from his charts and models and data and stuff, that is our meteorologist, Alistair Alders. Alistair, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, Dan. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm looking at some of the video here from places like New York City and Boston and Philadelphia. Philadelphia got more snow than they've had in 10 years. Is that what's responsible for what we're going to see here very shortly?
Well, I mean, it's certainly the same storm system that's going to be moving through. Thankfully, for the most part, we're not expecting to the same extent in terms of the amount of snowfall. This is a very significant winter storm for those areas that you mentioned, Boston, New York, New Jersey, in some cases have exceeded 20 inches of snow, and it is still snowing at this hour in those areas, and 20 inches obviously would be about 50 centimeters of snow. So it's a very significant weather system, and it's the same storm that is headed in our direction. But thankfully, the storm, its position and where it's strengthening has been able to really deliver a significant snowstorm to those areas. And while this will be a significant snowstorm and will bring significant snow for parts of the region, it doesn't look like, at least in terms of snowfall totals, that we will see amounts to the same extent as parts of the U.S. So, I mean, that is, I guess the bit of good news with this storm system.
New York City, they're talking anywhere from 18 to 24 inches. So 24 inches is 60 centimeters. There are people walking through Central Park in snowshoes right now.
It's hard to believe, and I think we sometimes have this idea that New England and parts of the eastern seaboard always get hit the same that we do, but it's oftentimes these storms are strengthening as they move through our region, so we usually get hit worse than the States. But this system, just where it was kind of in that perfect position to kind of strengthen and do so rapidly right off the coast of the U.S., just made kind of for the perfect winter storm and blizzard for those states. So it's a significant weather event for sure.
All right, Alistair, what are we expecting in HRM?
So the snow looks like it's starting to approach now, hearing some reports of light flurries out there. It's been snowing heavily on the South Shore and parts of the valley for a bit now. I've had reports of blizzard conditions in the Southwest. In fact, Backrow Point, which is a very exposed area in the Southwest, is gusting to almost 100 kilometers per hour with the heavy snow. So it's not too great down there right now, and we will see similar conditions as we go through the afternoon. The snow is going to quickly fill in, and it will be heavy through the afternoon. As we go late this afternoon into the evening, we could be looking at snowfall rates of 2 to 5 centimeters or a bit more per hour. That's partially why this is so significant, because we have these high snowfall rates coupled with very strong winds that are going to gust widespread to 80 for HRM this afternoon and this evening, but could get as high as 100 along the coast.
Wow.
So the worst of the storm is as we go through the afternoon and the first part of the evening. We're talking 20 to 30 centimeters of snow for Halifax and Metro, most of which will fall between, now and this afternoon and the first part of the evening. So it's a significant amount of snow in really less than a 12-hour period. As we go later this evening and overnight, it is expected that we will see a bit of warm air draw into the system. So I do expect temperatures will climb above freezing later this evening and overnight. So that will allow the snow to mix over to a bit of rain. It could be 5 to upwards of 10 millimeters as we go later this evening and overnight, and then cooler air wrapping back in behind the system. We'll change it back to some flurries as we go into early Tuesday. Thankfully, it is a fairly fast-moving system, so we see what's left of the system, the flurries taper off through the morning on Tuesday. But obviously, impactful in a very short period of time. These snowfall rates of 2 to 5 centimeters or more per hour coming in as we go through the afternoon, especially so on the South Shore. That's where those bands are really targeting. But at times, we could see rates upwards of 5 centimeters here in Halifax later this afternoon into the evening. A quick 20 to 30 centimeters of snow with 5 to 10 millimeters of rain and winds gusting to 80, possibly 100 along the coast, just creating poor visibility, poor travel, at times blizzard-like conditions not out of the question.
And I would imagine, Alistair, given the temperature outside now, plus that warm air that you're talking about and a change over to rain, that this snowfall is going to be that really wet, soppy, hard to shovel, knock the power out kind of storm.
Yeah, that's obviously the concern, too, is the power outages, and there's already over 700 without power on the South Shore, where the winds are obviously, as I mentioned, blowing very strong. The temperature is not too far below the freezing mark right now, and as you mentioned and as I just said, we will be climbing to 2 and above freezing, so this will be a heavier, sticky, wet snow. I guess one piece of perhaps good news is that it will be very windy, so perhaps not as much weight on the power infrastructure if the wind is able to blow it off of it, but the wind could also knock out the power at the same time. So, obviously the weight of the snow coupled with the very strong winds does bring the risk of power outages and, something that's very important with the system, too, is the potential for higher than normal water levels and storm surge along the Atlantic coast, in particular Shelburne to Halifax. High tide will be later this evening, and we could see wave heights of 5 to 7 meters breaking on approach to the shore. So obviously, if you are in a coastal community that's vulnerable to, higher storm surge or higher than normal water levels with these types of storms. Obviously, the need to exercise more caution than usual if you are right along the coast with this storm too.
You mentioned it's a fast mover, Alistair, that we should be on this Tuesday, maybe after the commute or during the morning commute?
Yeah, I think it'll all, I guess, depend on how quickly things can be, cleaned up during the overnight. It should be mainly light flurries during the commute to work on Tuesday morning. If many are planning to go right now, I'm sure a lot of people are maybe hoping they can stay home. Certainly by the later morning and the afternoon, we should be rid of the flurries, but holding on to mainly cloudy skies and still some wind behind the system, too. The peak winds come through this afternoon and this evening. They get a bit lighter overnight as the center gets closer because there's actually a bit of a lull in the wind with the center of the system. But then behind it, northwesterlies gust to 50, at times 60 throughout the day on Tuesday. So we are still looking at some significant wind in the wake of the system. So any bands of flurries, light snow lingering in the morning will certainly be blowing around, and we could be looking at areas of, blowing and drifting snow even in the wake of the system as we go through Tuesday.
I'll be here, and I know you'll be watching the weather maps and give us an update tomorrow, Alistair.
Yes, for sure, Dan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Enjoy the shoveling.
I am getting tired of shoveling, okay? There's nowhere to put it, but, okay. I know we're running out of time.
Oh, the meteorologist is even getting done with winter.
if you have friends or family, or just look at the photos coming in from parts of the Avalon Peninsula and Newfoundland, where they've been hit back to back to back with over 100 centimeters, even 150 in some locations in the past week. They're running out of places to put the snow. So I guess it could be, a bit worse in terms of how much snow. They've been digging out, it seems like all week, and they'll be getting a bit of this storm system too. Thankfully, not to the extent of the last couple for them.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you, Dan.
That is our meteorologist, Alistair Alders. You can hear his forecasts in the afternoon drive, and of course tomorrow you'll hear him on your commute in. If you're commuting in tomorrow, it doesn't feel like there's going to be a lot of commuting tomorrow, but I guess we'll have to see how this whole thing plays out. When we come back, we've had discussions, many discussions about landlords and apartments here in HRM. Came across an article in the Herald last week, an opinion piece that says that Nova Scotia should be licensing its landlords. Community legal worker eviction prevention at Dalhousie Legal Aid Service. Hannah Main will be our guest. You are listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Olstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. Housing. This from the Chronicle Herald. It's in the opinion section, and it reads: Housing is fundamental to our health and our well-being. Surprisingly, although this is well established, Nova Scotia does not require those who provide it to be licensed. Meanwhile, a license is required to do much else in the province, including selling alcohol, holding a bingo or a lottery. While many landlords are competent and quick to address issues when they arise, there is no guarantee that a landlord will be one of the good ones. A provincial rental housing registry and licensing program is urgently needed. One of the co-authors of that opinion piece in the Herald is Hannah Main, and Hannah is a community legal worker at Dalhousie Legal Aid Service, and joins me on the telephone. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I appreciate it. I have been lucky. I'm a renter most of my life. I have been quite lucky with the landlords that I've had, but I have had one of the bad ones in my past, and I can tell you it's an awful experience.
Yeah. We see that a lot at Dal Legal Aid, and it's what we're really hoping with this proposal, I guess, for a landlord registry is that people can have some assurance going into a tenancy that the landlord will be, competent and offer those consistent services.
There's really no playbook for a landlord, right? You can just, if you're able to have a property or to purchase a property, or maybe you renovate your basement or whatever, you can voila, be a landlord.
Yeah, that's how our system is set up right now, which is really different from other institutions in our province, right? Like if you want to run a restaurant, of course, when we go to eat at a restaurant, we know that they've had their health and safety inspections, and we can feel generally pretty safe to go to a restaurant. Same with our short-term rentals and Airbnbs. Those are registered in the same way, but and so that ensures some consistency across the province, so that people, when they're accessing this service, they know that what they're accessing is at least generally safe. But yeah, we don't have anything like that for housing, which is interesting because we spend a lot of money on our housing. It would be nice to know that there's some standards across the province.
Now, as I understand it, in order for this to happen, there would need to be some kind of standardized rules across the province, including minimum standards for housing, which places like Cape Breton and here in HRM have some on the bylaws, but many places in Nova Scotia don't.
Yeah, exactly. So HRM, it's great. There are minimum standards for rental units. So, for example, that includes a minimum heat there has to be in the unit. So in the winter, if the landlord isn't providing the heat, tenants can at least call 311, or they can get a bylaw officer to come look at that. And that kind of thing protects tenants, right? Where they know that there's some law that's protecting them. But so rural areas in the province, though, there's a lot more, again, like inconsistency where there's just no way other than going through the residential tenancies program of knowing going in that there's a standard of housing.
Hannah, we know the landlords, and I can hear them typing on their computers right now to send me an email saying that if we start putting licensing and more red tape into becoming a landlord, then some will either not get into the business or some will get out of it because they're just done with government oversight. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would expect some sort of pushback like that. But what we I wrote this with Catherine Leviton Reid, and it was part of the alternative budget with Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives in Nova Scotia. And we're thinking of housing in a more holistic way. You know, housing is a human right, and we're not just thinking about housing as a roof over someone's head. I understand that maybe there would be landlords that might not be interested in participating in this sort of thing. But if they're only willing to offer housing, if they can't prove that it's adequate, then I would question the level of the housing they're providing in the first place. I don't know if that makes sense, but
right. If you've got nothing to hide, then why worry about it, right? Like that's kind of where you're getting at with that.
Exactly. I think for those landlords who already have standards of maintenance, who already are quick to register, their businesses are registered properly. They respond to requests, and they are upholding the maintenance of the units right now. Then I don't think this would be a burden. It might be more difficult for those landlords whose units are falling into disrepair. But for those landlords, I mean, we do need them to do something anyway.
Hannah, would this in your day today, would this make it easier to hold landlords to account, for instance, on some of the more well publicized issues that we've had with rent evictions and substandard housing, to be able to hold landlords to account because you could put their license in jeopardy?
Yeah, I mean, part of what we're proposing, and again, this is a proposal, it's an idea, but it has been successful in other jurisdictions around the world and in different Canadian cities. But we're really proposing some proactive work, right? Where inspections could be done proactively. Again, in the same way as an inspection is done for a restaurant, just to check the health and safety, we could do that for apartments. And that would help sort of nip those problems in the bud before they become more serious. That's the dream.
The dream versus the reality. How likely do you think this is to happen?
I mean, we know the province is coming out with their budget today.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
And we know that they currently put in quite a lot of public money into subsidizing people's housing. Right? We have rental subsidies in the province with the Canada Nova Scotia Targeted Housing Benefit. So there's already like millions and millions of dollars of public money going in to help people pay their rent for apartments that sometimes are in really, really poor condition. And what we're proposing is at a quite, the cost outlay is quite a bit less for the public. And I think it would benefit tenants a lot, just to ensure that public money that we're spending to subsidize renters is going into actual adequate housing. Whether or not the government will take this recommendation is certainly up to them. They're coming out with the budget today, and we are calling them to come up with a budget that will protect Nova Scotians or the health and safety of Nova Scotians. And housing is a huge thing. I'll be definitely watching to see what they're going to be doing on housing because more investment is certainly needed. So we'll see.
So will we, Hannah. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks, Dan. Take care.
That is Hannah Main, community legal worker at Dalhousie Legal Aid Service. When we come back, how's your quality of life? If someone asked you that question, what would you say? Well, there's a new survey that's working its way around here in Nova Scotia asking that very question. Chief Engagement Officer with Engage Nova Scotia, Danny Graham, will be your guest when we come back. Forward here on a Monday afternoon. If somebody asks you, how's your quality of life? What would you tell them? Well, there's an organization out there that is looking to ask that very question. It's this from the Chronicle Herald. A province-wide quality of life survey will ask Nova Scotians to share how they're doing, not just economically, but socially and emotionally, as Engage Nova Scotia looks to build on a landmark effort from 2019. The survey, launching today, expands on that first effort that drew close to 13,000 responses to more than 230 questions, creating what's being called one of the largest well-being data sets assembled for a single jurisdiction. The survey is the largest quality of life survey administered in Canada and perhaps anywhere in the world, says Chief Engagement Officer with Engage Nova Scotia. That's Danny Graham, and Danny joins me on the phone. Danny, how are you?
I'm well, Dan. How are you?
Well, am I filling out the survey now? I'm kidding.
You'll get it. You'll get it in the mail. If you live in Nova Scotia, you can expect this, and we're hoping that you'll be able to take the time it takes to fill out all the answers.
It's a broad question, right? What's your quality of life like?
Yeah. And at first, when we started down the road of trying to examine this, people thought that we weren't going to be able to answer that question. But fortunately, we work with an organization called the Canadian Index of Wellbeing, which has been studying this issue for a long period of time. They've undertaken this survey across Canada on several occasions. The response in Nova Scotians, amongst Nova Scotians, has been the most enthusiastic of any residents in trying to drill down on this particular issue. So it's about much more than just happiness and life satisfaction. It's about the stories of whether you're lonely, whether you can afford the basics of life, whether you have secure housing, whether you have a good job, whether that job gives you hope, et cetera, et cetera.
Why is it important to have this kind of data, Danny?
Well, ultimately, this is going to help us plan better and spend wiser. It will help organizations advocate more effectively with data for the things that they care about on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot that we don't understand about what's going on in our society. Life satisfaction has been declining all across the country and in Nova Scotia in recent years, and nobody seems to understand why. So we're hoping that we'll be able to equip Nova Scotians and decision makers with a better understanding of those issues through this survey.
For those that partook in the 2019 edition of this, Danny, what's different this time around? We asked lots of questions. For those of your listeners who answered back in 2019, they might recall just how comprehensively the questions were put to them. But we know that housing insecurity has become a much bigger issue. Affordability generally is a bigger issue. We've had terrible experiences with intimate partner violence. We want to understand those issues much better. We are asking many more questions about the circumstances of people across different disabilities. If somebody has a chronic illness or a disability, that indeed will be new in this survey. And we're also increasing the number of questions that we have about accessing family physicians and whether or not somebody has the ability to upskill their education to get back into the workforce. So those are just some examples of the increased number of questions we have coming in 2026. How long does it take? How many questions are there?
There are literally hundreds of questions. So this is where we ask for Nova Scotians to trust that what they will be completing in the survey will be put to good use. And we have plenty of examples of how that has been done since 2019. It takes 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how long you spend on each question, to complete the survey. At the end of it, and if somebody needs time to take a break and come back to the same platform, they can continue to do this over a number of occasions. Our hope is that we will be able to exceed the groundbreaking numbers that we received in 2019.
What do you think that is, Danny? You mentioned that this a couple times. You mentioned that Nova Scotia had a good uptake on this last time. Are we bragging about our quality of life? Is that what we're doing?
I think we care about our quality of life.
Right.
I think that, and we've asked Nova Scotians these questions for several years. How important is your quality of life? And consistently, we get a response back from Nova Scotians that that's a question that we don't get asked often enough, and we feel is really important for us to be measuring, along with the other indicators, the economic and employment indicators that we're often using to make our decisions. Our experiences of loneliness, our experiences of mental health struggles, and our ability to access sport and recreation and other opportunities are just as important to our well-being as many of the things that we talk about in our usual political discussions.
Be interested to see some of the comparisons to 2019, given what's happened in the world in the years since pandemics and so on and so forth.
Well, that's one of the things that will make this, I think, unique. The first set of data were collected before the pandemic, so we will be able to see what's happened since then. Not to mention the other concerning issues that seem to be coursing through our societies. The questions about how strong our democracies are clearly are in play. You know, we mentioned this issue about declining life satisfaction. That is a particularly important issue for young adults in Canada. Canada's ranking amongst young adults in terms of their life satisfaction over an approximately 15-year period has dropped more than any other country except for Afghanistan, Lebanon, Jordan, and Venezuela.
Wow.
That might come as a shock. I expect it does to your listeners the same way that it did to us when we first read that. That's across 130 countries. And when we shared that with public health officials, their response was those concerns are related to the pandemic. And when we shared it with economists, they say that's affordability. Social scientists say that's climate anxiety or social media. And the truth of the matter is that we really don't have a clear handle on why that's happening. And so through this work, we are hoping to be able to understand those issues and many others and how they are all connected to each other in a world where every day we seem to be asking ourselves with greater concern, what's going on? And our hope is that through the participation of Nova Scotians, we'll be able to help them understand more fully what's going on. We'll be able to equip them with the knowledge that really reflects their stories so that we can make better decisions and, most importantly, hold together the society that we deserve. Nova Scotia is an amazing place. We are so fortunate to live here, but not everybody enjoys the benefits of living in this extraordinary place. So if we want to plan better, if we want to spend wiser, if we want to make sure that more people have the opportunities that this province provides, this is a way, through their participation in this survey, to contribute to that stronger Nova Scotia.
Danny, off the top, you said that everybody that lives in Nova Scotia is going to get a shot at this. It's online. Does that come in the mail? How does that work?
Yeah, so everyone will receive a postcard in the mail. asking them to log on with their own individual code and complete the survey electronically. If they're not comfortable with the electronic version that would be filled out online, there's a phone number and contact information to ask for a paper copy related to this as well. For people who are insecurely housed, we'll be doing outreach to members of the community who otherwise wouldn't be receiving something through the mail. So there are many ways in which we're trying to make sure that this reaches Nova Scotians from one end of the province to the other and one experience to another.
How long is the survey going to be in the market?
For 2 months. Okay. It's 8 weeks to be precise. So there will be a reminder postcard going out in a couple of weeks for anybody who missed it or didn't have the time. There will be a second chance, any number of chances between now and midnight on April 19th to complete the survey. So our hope is that people really take the time to share their story and to seed our future.
Danny, appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, Dan.
That is Danny Graham, Chief Engagement Officer with Engage Nova Scotia. The Nova Scotia Quality of Life Survey has launched. It launches today and will be in the market for 8 weeks. And you should be getting something in the mail that will allow you an opportunity to take part in the survey. When we come back, it is the signature, the premiere, the big one for raising money for epilepsy research. And what I'm speaking of course, is Purple Day Gala 2026. This year it's called The Art of Resilience. The founder of Purple Day, Cassidy Megan, after the break. Welcome back. As I mentioned before the break, it's the big kahuna when it comes to fundraisers for epilepsy in Canada, and it is called Purple Day. And the founder of Purple Day joins me on the phone. Welcome to the show, Cassidy Megan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I think we've been having these discussions for several years now with Purple Day.
Yes, you guys I've always been such huge supporters, and I love working with you guys.
Tell me a little bit about Purple Day for those of us that don't know what we're talking about here. Megan, what is it and what is it designed to do?
100%. Purple Day is an epilepsy awareness day that's celebrated every year worldwide. It's on 100 countries, every continent, and people wear purple. They do events or set up education and awareness tables just to spread awareness about epilepsy and, let the community know what to do if they see someone having a seizure, and to let those living with seizures know they aren't alone.
So it's not only about raising money, it's an awareness piece too, right?
Pardon?
It's not just about raising money. This is about raising awareness of what epilepsy is and how to deal with it.
100%. And it's so a lot of people will get information from the local agencies. So here it's the Epilepsy Association of the Maritimes. People will also even they'll get the local landmarks lit up. So if anyone listening has any landmarks they want to do, they can reach out to EAM or myself, and we can help get them in contact for that too. Yeah, it's all about funds are great because it helps the associations be able to keep their services going and their doors open. Awareness is the ultimate goal too.
Cassidy, tell me a little bit about the gala and Art of Resilience.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this year's theme because we've added another element on how to have the guests be very interactive with it, but also another element on how to give back to the community. So there is a Japanese art form, and it's pronounced similar to I'm not going to pronounce it. I had it. I think to hear it in my brain. But they fuse things back together with gold when they break, so that they don't have broken things around the house. And then when they look at it, it just looks more beautiful now that it's been repaired.
Right.
And I found that was very authentic to the experience with epilepsy. You know, we can get cuts, we can have to have surgeries and we get injuries, and the seizures can create these fears and mental scars that are always with us. But despite that, we always thrive, and we're still beautiful members of the communities. So one thing with the theme is it'll be like a live art show. So there's artwork happening. It'll be like a live art gallery. People can walk through, read and hear about the art pieces from the artists themselves. All the artwork that is there is done by someone who has epilepsy or has been affected by it. There's also live performances from same people who have epilepsy or have been affected by it. So it really helps support them and gives them that platform and gets their names out there more. For entertainment, we have Quake Matthews, we have Maddie Frisbee, Karen Williams, maybe a fourth one, and then almost 12-ish pieces of artwork to be displayed. And the artwork also that's on display is also going to be auctioned off. And a portion of what they go for is going to go to the association. But the other portion is going to go back to the artist who gave the painting to the gala to help support them in their career and help in their livelihood. So you're helping the association help their clients, but you're also helping directly to the people in the community that are affected by epilepsy. There'll be interactive portions where people can do their own artwork and take them home with them. There'll be a bunch of different food stations, stand-up reception style this time. So there's lots of networking, lots of conversations to happen. And I'm really looking forward to this year's gala. If people can still buy the tickets too, they can go to thepurpledaygala.com. Tickets are still available, even though we're getting close. We're wrapping them up soon, but you still got a chance to get them before that happens.
You have been the driving force behind Purple Day, Cassidy. We've been talking for several years now, and this isn't just a maritime thing. This is not just a Canadian thing. You're all over the world now.
I am, yeah.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is amazing. I love the experiences that the Purple Day has given me and getting to go to these places and do things with them virtually, because I really get to see how epilepsy impacts people in different parts of the world and what kind of awareness that also needs to be done that can benefit them and in turn benefit us here, because we can all learn from each other on how to be better humans and how to be better at raising awareness and supporting each other. And I love hearing their stories and getting to connect with them and relate to the people who want to share.
Again, give us the stats on where we can get tickets for the gala.
Yeah, you can contact the Epilepsy Association of the Maritimes. You can buy them through them, or there's a ticket site on Universe or purpledaygala.com. You can buy tickets there, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the gala and celebrating, kicking off the month of March and Purple Day and Epilepsy awareness with you all.
Cassidy, I appreciate your time. All the best.
Thank you so much. And hope to see you guys there.
You betcha. Cassidy Megan, the founder of Purple Day. It impacts a lot of people. Some stats, 65 million people worldwide have epilepsy. 1 in 100 people in any kind of population are expected to or have epilepsy, and 50% of the cases people don't even know. So it impacts a lot of people, and Cassidy has been doing this for several years now. She's a young person on a mission, I'll tell you that, and she has taken this day, March the 26th, Purple Day, and taken it from here in the Maritimes and drove right across Canada. Now it's all over the world, and we wish her the very best. I love it when young people pick up something and they are so passionate about it and they create change. We often hear that we have to change things. The world's got to change. The world needs to be a better place. But there are people like Cassidy that take that extra step further, and she should be congratulated for all the hard work she's done for epilepsy research, and for Purple Day, which is on the 26th. I encourage you to wear purple to school or to work that day, and we wish her all the best with the gala again this year. Thanks to all of our guests, including Cassidy, for joining us here on the program today, imparting their knowledge. I learned something whenever we do this. It's like somebody flipped a switch, folks. We began that interview with Cassidy, and I was thinking, okay, show's almost over. We'll get done here today. We'll get home, and hopefully before the snow. Not so much. It's coming down pretty hard right now. Be careful out there today, folks. We're looking somewhere between anywhere from 15 to 30 centimeters, depending on where you live. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but it will be messy. It will be slippery, particularly on that drive home if you made it into work today. So just take it easy on the roads. Patience, folks. You'll get there eventually. Thanks to all of you who dialed the numbers and joined the program today on the open hours and in the counselors for the hot seat, counselors on the hot seat segment of the show. I appreciate it when you guys participate, and I look forward to it every day. Thanks to Vanessa Vandenez, who's on the other side of the glass, who's as well looking out the window going, oh, what happened to the... Anyway, it's only snow, folks. I know that we've got an aversion to snow in Nova Scotia, but we'll get over it. We really, really will. We're not getting 2 feet like they got in New York City. So you can look at it could be worse, right? Anyway, thanks to Vanessa who puts these shows together every day and keeps me in line. Tomorrow is the day after the provincial budget. The budget today will drop at 4 o'clock, folks. We will have as much reaction as we can jam into that first hour of the show tomorrow before the open hour to get you what you need to know about Tim Houston's spending plan for the next year. We know the Premier likes to spend outside of the budget, but hopefully he'll stick to it this time. And we'll get some reaction from stakeholders and other groups as part of the program tomorrow. My promise to you, don't forget, we will open up the telephone lines at 11 o'clock for the open hour for your thoughts on the budget and whatever else is on your mind. And then, of course, Dr. Rob will be here as part of Science Files for a Tuesday. Science of a blizzard, it looks like right now. Anyway, we'll do our very best to bring that to you here on the program tomorrow. Again, folks, patience. Be careful if you have to be out on the roads on the way home, and keep your eyes and ears tuned right here to our radio station, 95.7 News Radio, and our website, City News Halifax, for the very latest on any closures, cancellations, and the latest on the weather. We'll see you all tomorrow. Be kind to one another.